Naval Wargames occupy a wonderfully broad stretch of ocean. At one end you can be plotting submarine contacts and managing carrier groups. At the other you can be trading enormous broadsides and watching several thousand tons disappear beneath the waves. And today we're going to look at some of the best naval war games you can play right now, covering everything from accessible tactical battles to detailed historical simulations. Each game has earned its place on this list through tactical depth, authenticity, campaign design, and of course some accessibility. Welcome back to LT Gaming. If you like gaming coverage and this is your sort of thing, consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video, and let YouTube know that Naval Wargaming is here to stay. Alright, let's go. Before we jump into our first game, today's video is sponsored by World of Warships, which given the subject matter fits rather neatly. Now this isn't a game I'd have played before this sponsorship, but I finally gave it a go and I was pleasantly surprised. World of Warships places you directly behind the guns of more than 850 ships spread across 13 nations. You got destroyers, cruisers, battleships, aircraft carriers and even submarines, and they all require a different approach. What surprised me with this though was the monetization. I loathe pay to win mechanics, and from what I've played this is one of the least pay to win free games I have encountered. Spending money can accelerate your progress, sure, but the resources you need can be generated by playing the game. And this leaves you free to enjoy the actual appeal, which for me is discovering historical ships, learning what made them distinctive, or taking command of a vessel that you already know and seeing how it gets on in a battle. World of Warships is free to play, and new or returning players can use our link below and claim the Impact Force welcome package, including premium time, ships, commanders, credits and actual progression rewards. The link is in the top of the description and the pinned comment below, and thanks again to World of Warships for sponsoring this video. Now let's get into our first game. Now we're coming out swinging with our first game, Sea Power Naval Combat in the Missile Age. Luke and I played Cold Waters back in the day and we had a great time with it, so seeing that Sea Power came from the same lead designer caught our attention. Where Cold Waters largely places you in command of a single sub, Sea Power expands the scale massively. Depending on the scenario, you can control one vessel or an entire Cold War task force made up of surface ships, submarines and aircraft. The thing I love about this game is the tension. Can you detect the enemy, correctly identify them and launch an attack before they ruin your afternoon? Now it's still in early access, but for me this is a good thing because the amount of work going in is genuinely staggering. Frequent updates continue to improve its AI interface, performance and just the scope. For anyone who enjoyed Cold Waters but wanted something more broader and ambitious, Sea Power is an easy recommendation. Next up we're going with a niche pick, and that is Naval Hurricane, a turn-based World War I naval game that will feel very familiar to anyone who enjoyed games like Atlantic Fleet. The best compliment I can give this game is that I ignored the tutorial and I was moving ships and firing guns within a few minutes and having a good time. A big part of that is the interface is wonderfully intuitive, and it also has historically accurate ship models if that's your thing, and the foundations are very strong. Now another early access title, and it does show in parts. There is limited ship selection and formations can fall apart here and there, and the AI occasionally acts up and you don't know why. But most of the problems come down to balance, polish and the missing content rather than the flawed central idea. For around $10, this is a very cheap recommendation for naval history enthusiasts. Now From the Depths is a slightly different sort of naval war game, because before you can command your fleet you're probably going to spend several hours designing every part of it. Luke is a huge fan of this game and he says it's one of the best combat builders you can play. You can construct battleships, submarines, aircraft carriers and of course considerably less sensible creations using more than 1,000 components. The physics and damage system means your design choices do matter. Armor placement, buoyancy, engines, ammunition, and individual components all determine whether your masterpiece survives combat or just becomes a floating wreck. The only warning with this one is it has a high learning curve. And that is in part down to the difficult control system, but if you're prepared to put the learning in from the depths, will give you an extraordinary level of creative freedom and depth. Luke and I spent hours playing the original Silent Hunter back in the day, and we were absolutely terrible at it, but naturally it didn't stop us having a brilliant time sinking ships, or usually getting sunk ourselves. Silent Hunter 3 would be the game that perfects this formula. In my opinion, is the best entry in the series. The installment captures the atmosphere great, the music, ambient sounds, crew voices, they all combine perfectly to create the tension and atmosphere you want in a game like this, the constant threat of destroyers prowling overhead. It is a dynamic campaign that places you in command of a German U-boat during the Second World War, doing all sorts of shenanigans. It may have launched back in 2005 and its age does show, but the core experience remains remarkably effective. Check it out. NavalArt is a really bloody underrated game considering just how much it manages to offer the player. This is a labour of love from an independent dev attempting to build the definitive naval sandbox, and in many ways we think it's succeeding. You can design your own warships down to very small details, test how it handles, and then take them into battle using weapons spanning everything from 19th century naval guns to modern missiles and carrier aircraft. My brother Luke thinks this game is absolutely peak naval warfare, and another bonus is it's very light on your hardware. You could run this on a potato. Now the game still has rough edges, it remains in early access, but gets a ton of updates. If you want creative freedom and sheer mechanical ambition, this is an easy recommendation for you. Wolfpack takes submarine simulation in a direction very few other games attempt. Instead of one player controlling everything, you can be up to 5 people crewing the same U-boat together. You take responsibility for a station, you could be navigating, operating the radio, controlling depth, or performing calculations needed to turn a distant ship into a sinking wreck. Technical detail does create a sense of teamwork. If you succeed in an attack, it's because you all communicated and performed your role properly. If you fail, well, you all fail together. Unfortunately, development moves at a glacial pace on this one. But you gotta play the beta branch, that gets updated a lot more frequently. Despite that, the core cooperative experience remains very solid and a good pick for anyone who likes this sort of thing. Now I'd be utterly remiss if I made a Naval Wargames list and didn't include one of the best to ever do it, and that is Cold Waters. Inspired by the classic Red Storm Rising, Cold Waters places you in command of a nuclear submarine during a Cold War that's become alarmingly hot. You're tracking Soviet ships and submarines, planning ambushes, and deciding whether to creep into torpedo range or launch missiles from a safe distance. What the game gets right is the balance between realism and actually being enjoyable to play. Its sensors and weapon systems contain enough complexity to make things feel meaningful without you having to have a naval engineering degree beforehand. It runs very smoothly, and its sandbox and scenario editor give you plenty of room for experimentation. For me, this is an essential naval game to play. Carrier Deck swaps direct naval combat for a more stressful job of keeping your entire aircraft carrier operational. You're taking the role of an air boss aboard a modern supercarrier, managing virtually everything that happens across its flight deck. Aircraft need to be moved, fueled, armed, launched, and sometimes recovered, all while new missions and potential threats continue to arrive. It leans heavily on the time management aspect of the game, where one poor decision will mean things go south very quickly. Some of the missions are relatively straightforward, others will require several attempts before you work out what you gotta do. It's an easy recommendation if you enjoy aircraft carriers, a bit of micromanagement, and organising complicated systems or working under pressure. It's got a good soundtrack too, and the background radio chatter adds plenty of ambient atmosphere. A good pick. U-Boat combines realism, impressive visuals, crew management, and detailed boat maintenance into one of the most immersive simulation games out there. A simple patrol can quickly turn into a desperate fight for survival. You might get depth charged and forced onto the shallow bottom of the English Channel, and you're going to have your crew remain silent while the destroyers circle above overhead. Maybe your crew can make it through, maybe they don't. And that's what makes U-Boat special. Its interconnected systems create these unscripted stories, where crew management, repairs, resources, and your choices suddenly become the matter of survival. If you're a fan of World War II naval history, this is a no-brainer. Righty-o, we're going full spreadsheet now, lads. Rule the Waves 3 looks like Wikipedia and Excel had some sort of kid and then left it unattended in a room full of warships. You launch the game and are immediately greeted by menus, charts, numbers, and some more numbers on top. If this game clicks for you, it will suddenly be 3 in the morning and you're obsessing over the thickness of your armor, your gun caliber, and turret placement. There is no flashy action, no hand-holding, and almost nothing that is conventionally attractive about this game. It is pure systems, and that's what makes it so addictive. Rule the Waves 3 is ugly, overwhelming, and completely unapologetic. On paper, this game shouldn't be this much fun, yet if it grabs you, it's not gonna let go. If you've got a thing for the golden age of sail, Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail delivers what matters most. Enormous wooden warships firing deeply unreasonable quantities of iron at one another. Its naval battles are fantastic. There's nothing quite like watching first, second and third rate ships of the line maneuver for position before unleashing devastating broadsides. One thing that never gets old for me is that one well placed shot can hit the magazine and trigger an enormous detonation. Pure fun here. It also includes boarding, amphibious operations and full land battles. I'm not as in love with the land battle side of things, but it's decent. For fans of Nelson, Trafalgar and some big broadsides, you should check this one out. Task Force Admiral is a game Luke has played heavily and by any reasonable medical definition a little bit unhealthily. What makes this one special is you gotta put your learning hat on. Carrier tactics, scouting patterns, launch timing, aircraft ranges, strike composition, you name it, you gotta learn it. The devs have done their homework here. It recreates carrier operations in the Pacific with a level of detail that can feel intimidating initially, but becomes immensely rewarding once it clicks. Now this one is a time investment, no two ways about it, but the small dev team have really hit it out the park. Few games make such an authentic carrier doctrine feel playable or compelling. Check it out. Alrighty guys, that about does it for today's video. Let me know in the comments your favorite naval war game, and if there's one you feel we left out, we will be sure to take a look at it. If you've enjoyed the video, give a like and consider subscribing. And one final thanks to World of Warships for sponsoring today's video. The game's free to play for new or returning players, and you can use the link below to access the Impact Force welcome package. Find the link in the top of the description or the pinned comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye now.